Give you the top 10 lessons I've learned in the last 15 years as a real estate investor. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Ryan Pineda. I've bought and sold over $100 million of real estate. Most of those were house flips. We've wholesaled a bunch. We've also built up a fund and bought hundreds of units of apartments. I've bought my own properties of single family, Airbnbs, condos, you name it. I've pretty much bought everything you can imagine. And I'm gonna give you the 10 lessons that I've learned these last 15 years. So lesson number one is that rentals suck. I mean, look. This passive income game that most of you are thinking you're going to get financially free if you just acquire enough units. It's not real. At least not initially, okay? If you look at properties today, I mean, majority of properties in major markets do not have any cash flow. I mean, I'm in Las Vegas. You go buy a median house right now, $400,000 or $500,000, and it is not going to cash flow. You're actually going to have negative cash flow if you buy it, okay? And I know that this is in most major markets. Now, is there cash flow markets? Are there different cash flow markets? Sure, you can go to the Midwest and get some, but even then, I've had lots of students who have bought many properties in cheaper markets, and on paper, they look great. A property could be $100,000 and it rents for $1,000. That's the 1% rule, or maybe it even rents for even more. And they soon find out that it doesn't make money. When you factor in vacancy and evictions and repairs and, just all these different costs that happen along the way, even if you got a big portfolio, 50 units, 100 units, it's like, man, this does not make what I thought it would make. And we're really like just a few vacancies or a few big major repairs away from being negative. So, I think that there's been this myth fed over the last 10, 15 years of like, man, just acquire enough rental units and get enough rentals and you can be financially free. And people think that when they acquire it, they're buying it for cash flow today, and all of a sudden they think like, oh, this is going to cash flow $300. I need, 20 of these and I'm at $6,000. And it's like, that doesn't really work, okay? Now, what does work is when you buy rental units for the long haul. That's when it actually starts to work, right? I mean, these same properties in Las Vegas, let's just say, all right? If you would have bought them 10 years ago, I mean, they would have tripled in value. So your net worth would have been, really high, because you could have got these things for really cheap. And then the rents since then have doubled or even tripled. And so, yeah, the properties back then, if you bought them 10 years ago, with what they are renting for today and based on what you bought them for, they are cash flowing like crazy. But it took 10 years. And I believe that that will happen again. If you buy a property today, even if it breaks even, rents are going to go up. Prices are going to go up over the next decade. And so, yes, they will cash flow and they can make you financially free in about 10 years. But the problem is, people are thinking that if they just get enough properties today, all of a sudden they can become financially free and live off cash flow. That is not what's going to happen. My advice when it comes to rentals is don't quit your day job. Keep making active income. Reinvest that into, these assets, these long-term properties, but do not even think about them from a passive income perspective. Think about them from an appreciation perspective, from a tax write-off perspective, and then even eventually, as those rents climb, then a cash flow perspective. So rentals suck in the way you've been told, and passive income is a myth, but you can still get it if you just wait long enough, okay? Over the years, I've hated on Dave Ramsey a lot, but as I've gotten older, and as I've gotten to actually talk to him, I actually surprisingly agree with him about a lot more things. And this is interesting because Dave is very anti-house flipping. That's how he lost all of his money. And he's also very anti leverage. He doesn't think you should buy rental properties with loans and everything else. And I know I'm pretty sure he believes you can buy a primary residence with a loan. I think he still probably wants you to get 20% down, which I don't agree with. But nonetheless, I do agree with him about not getting over leveraged. Okay, now over leveraged would mean you are taking on so much debt that if one little thing doesn't go right, you're over leveraged and you don't have the cash to be able to withstand that storm. And I saw that happen for a lot of real estate investors, in 22 and 23. I have been close to the point of being over leveraged a couple of times in my last 15 years. And it's scary, dude. It is tough to sleep at night when you got a lot of debt out there on the streets, a lot of it short term, high interest, and the market's not selling, your properties aren't moving, and maybe they're even going down in value, like that is a scary thing. And if you don't have the cash to withstand it, you're in trouble. I know that at my peak, not even at my peak, but like for many years, I would have anywhere from 40 to 70 house flips going on at once. That means we owned 40 to 70 flips. So you think about the amount of debt on those. Like I was fully leveraging all the houses. I would go get hard money, I'd get private money, and so I didn't really have any money into the deals. That's a lot of debt, man. That's a lot of projects. And people think about that, like, that's crazy, man. How do you even buy that many? How do you manage that many? My problem wasn't managing them and all that stuff. My problem wasn't getting deals. We were always good at sales and marketing. I had a great construction team. That wasn't my issue. The issue is just exposure to risk. And so for me, if I have 50 flips going on, and let's say the average amount of money I have in each of them is $400,000, I mean, that's $20 million of short-term debt out there. Now, look, I've made millions of dollars flipping houses, and like I've flipped hundreds and hundreds of homes having millions of dollars of debt out. Like I said, I've bought and sold $100 million plus of house flips. I mean, I've paid back $100 million. But during that time, I've had to write many checks to close deals when the market turned or a property sat or I misjudged a deal or something went wrong. When interest rates doubled, I ended up having to write lots of checks to just sell the homes, right? Think about it. You got a home that you think you're going to go make 40 grand on, and then all of a sudden things turn, prices drop a little bit. There goes your profit. They sit longer. Now your costs keep going up, and all of a sudden I got to write a check for 40 grand. I thought I was going to make 40 grand. Now I'm writing a check for 40 grand. That's an $80,000 swing on your projection. Times that by 50 properties, and you could see like, holy crap, that's going to be a big L. Now, thankfully for me, I was able to get through that storm because of other businesses, other assets, and everything else. I had cash flow coming in from my other businesses. I sold some rental properties that I had a lot of equity in. We wholesaled during that time, and so I was able to generate cash flow to withstand those losses as we were going through them. But my point with that story is most people aren't in the situation I was in where I was able to withstand that storm. For some of you, having just a couple of house flips could be, you're one thing away from, it potentially being very harmful. So, for me, and this is, let me take a step back here. If you're just getting in the game with real estate investing and you're broke and you're going to go get a loan to go flip a house, I actually think you have nothing to lose. And I think that's okay. When I first started flipping houses, I had to go take $50,000 of credit cards to get down payments for my hard money loans and to fund the deals and all this stuff. My mindset was, well, I'm broke anyway, so what does it care that I take out debt? What's the worst thing that can happen? I fail and I'm just more in debt and I'm still broke. Nothing changes. I would rather take a risk and fail than take no risk at all and always remain broke. All right? That was my mindset. So I think if you're in that boat, I personally, Dave would for sure disagree with me on this, but I just believe you have no choice but to take a big risk. Because if you don't, you will always remain broke. I'm not here to try and get you rich when you're 65 years old, okay, and do it slow. I believe in taking risk, and if you fail, you fail. You'll bounce back up, and you'll get on the horse and try again. But where I think things change is my situation. Once you've had success and you've built some wealth, for me, there's not really a point to be carrying 50 properties at once and have $20 million out for just house flips. Once again, I have other businesses. I have like these other assets and different things. I got a lot to lose now and very little to gain by taking out that much debt. That would be my biggest liability. And I don't have to do it. I could wholesale. I could still do a ton of real estate, but just not buy as many flips. And so that's kind of where I've taken my business. I've realized that in my current situation, there's no need to take on that much risk and take on that much leverage when it comes to flipping houses. Now, I'm still going to take leverage when I buy rentals. We're still going to raise capital to do big deals. That's not changing. But, at least on the house flip short-term debt side, I don't need to do that as much anymore. And I'm a much bigger fan of wholesaling and, having it be less risky, less headaches. There's no construction. And it's more scalable. We can just do way more deals with wholesale. You don't have construction. You don't have money issues. So surprisingly, a lesson I've learned is that I actually agree with Dave Ramsey about, not being over leveraged. Number 3, real estate investors, are you tired of getting low quality leads and talking with sellers who've been hit up by everyone else? Well, what if you could get inbound leads of motivated sellers on autopilot without any effort? Well, that's exactly what we do at Lead Kitchen. Over the years, I've spent millions of dollars on direct to seller marketing. I've done PPC, I've done TV commercials, I've done cold calling, text messaging, direct mail. I've done the pay per lead services. And look, all of them can work. A lot of them don't. At the end of the day, I have found a new method that is getting me better results than I've ever seen in my career. I'm getting lower cost per leads than ever before, and it's not just in Las Vegas, it's across the country. And so if you want to take advantage of this new innovative marketing strategy that takes no effort on your end, I want you to go to leadkitchen.com and book a call with my team today. Imagine having my team running your marketing with the same leads that I'm getting in my business. That's what you can have. So just go to leadkitchen.com today and book a call. Real estate is the easiest business to start. I have come to that conclusion. And once again, this is coming from a guy who, for those who don't know, I have started multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses. I would say I've started at least 8 7-figure businesses in the last 5-6 years. So clearly, I have an ability to start lots of businesses in different industries. And I'm here to tell you the easiest by far is real estate, specifically house flipping and wholesaling. What other industry, all right, let's just think about this. What other industry do we know for sure is going to be around in the next 20 years? Real estate's for sure. People are always going to need a place to live. We can't say that about all industries. And AI is going to take a lot of jobs in certain industries. So, AI literally might take my job right now as a content creator. It actually will. AI is going to create content and be probably better than humans. And so even like this, I'm thinking, man, where does this go in 10 years, right? But in the end, real estate's not going anywhere. And AI can't change that. Nothing can change that. So real estate's going to be around. Okay. Now you think about the next thing and you're like, all right, it's going to be around. What's the barrier to entry? Well, there is none. We can all do it. Anyone watching this right now can start wholesaling today. You don't need a degree. You don't need money. There's no barrier to entry. You just need to know what to do. You need to know how to find a good deal. I'm like, okay, so it's going to be around. There's no barrier to entry. Okay, what about the upside? Well, the upside of real estate is tremendous, right? It's created the most millionaires. I've seen guys go from 0 to millionaire. I myself went 0 to millionaire in 3 years, and I've seen other people do it quicker. All right. So you can become a millionaire really quick. It's not going anywhere. It's very scalable. And when you think about it, real estate accomplishes 2 goals. It fills the both short-term way of making money and the long-term way. So the short-term way would be, all right, I work a job to make money today to pay the bills. Well, guess what? In real estate, you can wholesale and flip houses to get money today to pay the bills. And odds are you only need a few deals to make more than whatever you make in your day job. And you can do it from home. And just everything about it's amazing. But then long-term wise, right? If you learn to flip or wholesale, and you learn to you learn to find great deals, you can now buy them as rental properties, which, as I just said in lesson 1, can be worth a ton in 10 years. Your net worth can double, it can triple, it can 10x, if you can get the properties for very low basis or even no money, right? So tell me what other industry that does all of those things. It's going to be around, it's scalable, there's no barrier to entry, you can make quick money, you can make long-term money. I just don't know it. So for me, I've just come to the conclusion that if you don't know what to do, you currently don't make 6 figures in your career and you're like, what should I do? Real estate. I just cannot tell you to start any other business, having been in lots of industries, having done content, having done, I used to be a pro baseball player too. I've done so many things, and real estate is the easiest. So, and be encouraged too. A lot of my friends, they ain't the smartest, they ain't the brightest, they never graduated high school. Trust me, these dudes, they ain't special by any means. And they've become millionaires in real estate because it is such a great opportunity, okay? Number 4, marketing is the hardest part of real estate. This I've learned over time, and it didn't occur to me until, I've just been in the game longer and I had to start doing marketing for all my businesses. Marketing's really hard, guys. You think about, man, I can't find a deal. Well, that's marketing. You just aren't marketing good enough. There's lots of ways to market, right? I mean, you could network with people. You can network with wholesalers and realtors, and that's your marketing. You could cold call and text, and you do some direct to seller. You could try and find deals on the MLS or Craigslist or whatever. That's another form of marketing. You can go, PPC, TV commercials, direct mail, Facebook ads, like all that stuff. They're all forms of marketing. And that's why it gets really hard, because there's lots of ways to go about getting a deal, and it confuses people. Most people I see who are successful in real estate, they're already naturally pretty good salespeople. And the problem is they just can't get leads. The problem is they just can't meet enough people. Just basically it comes down to they don't know how to market. And I've thought about this a lot, especially since we've coached thousands of people through Wealthy Investor. And I'm like, man, how do you fix this issue? And we've done it in a couple of ways. One is by having a big community, people and students do deals together with each other. So, I mean, like that definitely helps solve some of the marketing issue. Another is we have given them softwares and tools. So we have like a software called Wealthy CRM for them to manage all their leads. And then we have a software called Wealthy Deals, which allows people to skip trace, get sellers' phone numbers, find motivated sellers, pull list, all the essentials that you need to talk to sellers. And so, by the way, if you're just a member in Wealthy University, you can get all those things, okay? Wealthy University, you can literally try for free by just going to wealthyuniversity.com. But with that being said, marketing is really hard. And so I think there's just basically two ways to market at this point. This is my conclusion. One is if you're just starting out and you're broke and you don't have a lot of money, then you got to do things that require time. And so what are things that require time? Getting out and networking, cold calling sellers, text messaging sellers. Like it requires a little bit of money, but not a lot, right? It just requires time on your end to go do it. Now, if you have money, okay, especially if you're already doing deals and you want to scale, well, money is going to then be your best friend, not necessarily time, right? If you're doing, all these deals, you yourself don't have time to cold call. That's just not a good use of time. A better use of your time is now taking the money you've made and reinvesting it into marketing that, just comes to you. And so this is what we would call inbound marketing, where we want leads that automatically come to us. And even with that, I've realized people have a huge issue, because I've done every form of inbound marketing you can. I've done TV commercials, I've done PPC, I've done direct mail, I've done all these things. And people, they don't do it because they don't even know how to do it themselves. Most don't, right? So they got to hire an agency, but then they don't know who's a good agency, who's trustworthy, who knows what they're doing. And so they don't get into it. Well, I finally decided you know what? I'm going to solve this issue and do my own thing. And so for me right now at this very moment in time, we run purely social media ads to target motivated sellers. And the reason is I believe it is the best ROI. It is the most untapped market for marketing right now. And I don't need to get into every little detail about it, but the thesis is all these real estate investors are doing all these old school ways of marketing because that's all they know, and it doesn't require a ton of creativity. Whereas social media marketing is really difficult. You got to make ads all the time. You got to have a media buyer, copywriter, landing pages, all this digital marketing stuff that I spent millions of dollars in time over the last bunch of years by making content, by having education, by having other companies and having to spend and learn how to do this stuff. I just never did it for my real estate investing business. And so now I do. And we are seeing the best cost per leads I've ever seen on inbound marketing through social media. And essentially, as I switched my whole business model over to this, our students were like, dude, can you teach us how to do it? It's like, nah, dude, it's just, I would teach you, but it's just so much. It's years and years of stuff I had to learn, and I have a massive team that does it. So honestly, it's just not even worth, you by yourself, you couldn't really do it the way that we're talking about. So finally, I just opened it up to other people who were experienced investors, and I said, you know what? We'll run my ads in your market. You get the leads, you pay for the marketing, and then let's just give us a little bit of a profit split. That's it. And so now that's what we do, right? People pay for marketing in their market. We do everything. We run my ads in theirs. They get all the leads, they close them, everything else, and we just take a 20% profit split. That's literally how it works. And so I think that solves a need in the marketplace. And so for anybody who's interested in that, you can go to leadkitchen.com and you can go fill out a form and everything else. We're only taking a few people every single month. And so, you know, if you're somebody who's interested, fill out the form. You know, you got to be doing deals. You got to be willing to spend on marketing because that's how we get paid, by you doing deals. So anyways, I just have realized that marketing is the hardest thing in this business. And truth be told, my opinion is it kind of should be outsourced in most cases. You know, you think, I've been marketing on social media now since COVID, 2020, right? And I think about all the time and all the money and all the skills I've had to do to get to this point. And I'm like, man, we kind of like just tell these real estate investors, these newbies, hey, just like, let's teach you marketing. And it's like, the skill is so hard to learn in such a short period of time. Like, it's not just like, hey, here's how you market and just go do it. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. And so if we can just kind of solve marketing for the real estate investors through things like Lead Kitchen, through things like Wealthy Deals and everything else, it kind of makes the game easier. And then you just got to work on sales and negotiating deals. So I just have realized marketing is very difficult in this game. That's why people don't scale or get deals. Or, you know, anytime, by the way, guys, anytime you hear somebody say, dude, there's no good deals in my market, I want you to sit there and tell them that's because you suck at marketing. Like, literally just tell them that, because that's literally what they're saying. They're saying, I suck at marketing. I can't find one good deal in my market. If you can't find one good deal in your market with freaking probably hundreds of thousands of houses, I don't know what to tell you. All right, you just suck at marketing. All right. Now, number 5, okay? This one's important, especially for beginners.
WealthCon is coming back to Las Vegas July 19th to the 21st. And man, if you are a real estate investor, you have got to attend this event. We are going to have some of the best in the game coming, guys like Brandon Turner and many others. This is going to be my favorite one yet. We're going to be at the Caesars Palace. Come hang out with over 1,000 investors and entrepreneurs who are trying to scale their business. You might meet your next private lender. You might meet your next partner. You might meet your next employee or the next person who's going to give you a deal. WealthCon is an event like no other. We have done it every single quarter now for the last 18 quarters straight because people keep coming back because they are getting results and they are having life change. Not only is it a great business event, but we also have a worship service. We have a pastor come. It is so cool. There's no event like it. So if you want to come, make sure you go to wealthcon.org and get your ticket today. Once again, that's wealthcon.org.
Focus on one niche of real estate, all right? When I got started, all I focused on was house flipping. I didn't focus on wholesaling. I didn't focus on Airbnb. Didn't focus on multifamily. Didn't try to be a realtor. You know, I just focused on flipping houses and getting really good at that. And that served me really well. And I remember in the early days, 2015, 2016, I was flipping these houses and I would have old school investors. They were like, Ryan, you got to start keeping some of these houses, dude. You're going to regret it. You know, rentals are king. Passive income's king. And I'm like, well, bro, okay, this house is going to net me freaking $200 a month, but I can flip it right now and make 25 grand. I don't know about you, but I'm like, I don't got a lot of money. So the 25 grand would mean a lot to me flipping this house. All right. The $200 is not going to do anything for me today. And they're like, yeah, but in the long, and I'm like, no, you don't get it. All right. By the way, if you can't tell, I've always had my strong opinions about things, even if somebody has done more than me per se. My convictions are my convictions. And just common sense wise to me, even at a young age as a new investor, it made no sense to keep a property that would make $200 and have no money in my bank and no ability to buy more properties because I'm broke. And then I got to like save up to buy the next rental. That's what most people do, by the way, right? They like save up all this money to buy the next rental and they buy one. And then, you know, if they're lucky, they save up more money and the next year or two, they buy more, right? Well, for me, I'm like, dude, what if I made 25 grand and then I took that 25 grand and I used it to buy another property that made 25 grand. Now I've got 50 grand. And then I use that 50 grand to go buy 2 more properties that make me 25 grand. And now I've got 100 grand. I mean, I would rather have 100 grand doing 4 flips than $200 a month buying that one property. And by the way, now that I'm building up cash, I can go actually buy a rental and still have cash to go, flip more houses and eventually buy more rentals. And that's exactly what I did. I flipped probably my first 50 houses without buying a rental. And people were like, bro, when are you going to start building up real wealth? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, And then sure enough, I did start buying rentals. I bought my first Airbnb in 2017 in Big Bear, California, before anybody was even freaking using Airbnb. And once again, that was another thing. I'm like, I think this Airbnb thing is going to be pretty big. Like, Airbnb, Big Bear, California, who wants to do that? Like, you're going to let people, this is literally what they said. You're going to let other people stay at your house, on vacation? How are you going to trust them? What if something breaks? What if the house couch is on fire? And I'm like, then I have insurance. I don't know what to tell you. And it's just like, it's mind-blowing now looking back 7 years later. But these were the things people were saying about Airbnb at the time. But, once again, I just kind of understood it common sense-wise. I'm like, dude, this cabin I'm buying is $200,000 in California. Where else are you buying properties for $200,000 in California in a resort town? And it rents for $4,000 a month. My mortgage is like $1,300. Like, I'm going to kill it on this property. I'm going to make over $1,000 a month easy. And that's exactly what happened. And that property killed it. It made me buy more properties in that area. And then sure enough, the prices skyrocketed. Rents kept going up. And that first cabin I recently sold for like $450, just a few years later. So, my point with this is, I guess that was a new lesson, follow your gut. But the original point is that I focused solely on flipping houses in the beginning. I didn't get shiny object syndrome and say, man, maybe I should go to apartments, or man, I need to buy rentals because everyone else is telling me to rentals. I said, screw the noise. I'm not listening to other people and what they think is best. I'm going to focus on being the best house flipper I can be. And once I do that, then I will worry about this other stuff later. And that is how I have built everything I've built in my life, not just real estate. And when I wanted to build a YouTube channel, I had complete focus on the YouTube channel. I didn't worry about Instagram. I didn't worry about this other stuff. Once it got to where I wanted, then I went to the next stage and said, okay, let's build this thing now. Okay, this business is here. Let's build this now. So, at the end of the day, focus on one niche of real estate, especially when you're starting out. And even then, like, it kind of is like good to just stay in that niche, Yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it. Number 6, relationships matter, but in different stages. So this is interesting, okay? When I was first starting out, I didn't have money for marketing, and I didn't even know how to do marketing. I was just like most of you. I just was like, I'll just network with people. Those guys are the ones spending money finding deals, and so I'll just kind of buy from them. So all I did was I networked with realtors and wholesalers. And so that was literally my marketing. I would DM realtors on Facebook and I would introduce myself. And I was like, hey, my name's Ryan. I flipped 50 homes out here, or whatever I was doing at the time. And, I just want to get to know you. I saw you're a big realtor in town and just want to connect. And so I went to coffee and I went to lunch and I met these realtors and different things. And then I would go to all the local meetups and I was meeting wholesalers and, all this stuff. And literally, my first 80 deals, I did not do any marketing. I literally got them all from wholesalers or realtors or the MLS. So it was all relationship based. And that's amazing when you don't spend any marketing dollars because basically everything you get is net profit. It's great. So early on, that was what was important to me. Next, the thing that was important to me, the next relationships were money guys. I was looking for private money because I wanted to scale the business, so I needed to buy more deals. I wanted to buy rentals and other things. And so the next big relationship for me was getting around just general rich people. And, they didn't have to be in real estate. They just had to have money. And so that's what I did. I just started making relationships with rich people. At the time, I wasn't golfing yet. I've met a lot of rich people now that I golf. But I was just doing it just you meet one rich person and you do right by them, they'll introduce you to another rich person and another one. That's just kind of how the game goes. So, the second stage for me was getting around money people. And then the third one was getting around high-level people. So first it went from people that could get me deals. Second was people that could give me money. And then the third was people that could give me basically like mentorship or, just guidance and strategy. And so I started getting around big players in the real estate space. And then I just got to see how they operated. I got to see how they ran their teams. I got to see what they were doing for marketing. What were some new innovative things that I had never heard of? What were they doing? And that was really important for me. And even to this day, right, I would say I don't focus a ton on realtors and wholesalers anymore, at least me personally. My team still does. They should be networking and doing those things to find deals. I do focus on meeting rich people because, we still buy deals. And so, the more access to capital we have, the better. But like this third one is the biggest for me, just relationships for strategy and business and, people that can open doors. And that's why I love having the podcast, because every time I interview somebody really big, man, it opens the door for other people, right? Whether they introduce me to somebody, whether they themselves are pouring into me and I'm learning things from them, or whether now they've just given me even more credibility and social proof. And so now when I reach out to the next person, they're like, oh, dude, you had him on your podcast or her on your podcast? Yeah, I'm down. If they were willing to come to Vegas to come on your show, I'll come to Vegas. And so relationships have proven to be the most important thing for me, hands down, especially on the mentorship side. And the podcast has been a huge part of that. And then, you build great relationships, they introduce you to other people. That's how it goes. So that's number 6. Number 7, in real estate, at some point, as you scale, all right, this is after baby step 1 where, we're talking about just focus on one niche. Once you've gotten this thing pretty good and scaling, you're gonna have to figure out how to have multiple cash conversion cycles. So the reason I say this is because real estate is both fast and slow, all right? So we talked about this earlier. The fastest money you can get in real estate is basically wholesaling, all right? So for those of you who don't know, wholesaling is when you lock up a contract, you get a great deal, but instead of buying it yourself and fixing it up and doing a normal flip, you just sell the contract to another investor. And that other investor pays you the difference between what you have it under contract for and what they're willing to pay. So if I have it under contract for $300,000 and they want to give me $320,000, then I would make $20,000 on that deal. So that's how it works, okay? I do it, like our main bread and butter in real estate right now happens to be wholesaling, okay? Now, wholesaling's great because you can get paid in 30 days, all right, let's just say, right? If I lock it up today, sure, it could definitely happen next week, but average wholesale, let's just say, takes about 30 days. The next quickest way to get paid is, flipping, okay? I was about to say novations. I don't want to confuse you guys, but let's just say house flipping, all right? House flipping becomes the next thing. Now, the average house flip depends on how quick properties are selling, but let's just say it's going to take you 5-6 months to flip a house, all right? Expect that. So, we can go from 1 month cash conversion cycle to a 5 to 6 month cash conversion cycle with flipping. Now let's talk about just rental properties, all right? So you buy rental properties. Most of you guys aren't looking to sell them anytime soon, but, a rental property might have a 2-year cash conversion cycle for some, maybe 3. The market changes, goes up a lot. You're like, oh, you know what? I'd sell off this rental and get some cash. I've done that many times, right? Because I have a need for cash and some other investment, or I got to cover that loss like I was saying earlier. So, rentals become that way. And then, last one would be like in a fund. So we have a fund and, in the fund, it says that, hey, your money's locked up for the next 5, maybe even 10 years, depending on how the deal goes. And so your cash conversion cycle on a fund is, really long term. I would say that that's the same thing true with like a development deal, right? If you buy a piece of land, you're going to go develop all this stuff. You're looking 3-5 years plus before you ever get your money back and get a return. So what's my point with all this? Well, all of them make money. I know lots of people who are just purely developers and like it takes them 5 years to actually make money. I know people that are buy and hold people, and so it's like, yeah, they don't make really any money when they buy it. They might make the couple $100 a month in cash flow, but then they go and sell it a few years later, and then all of a sudden they make this big chunk of money. And then I know people who only house flip. I know people who only wholesale. And so here's my point with all this. At some point, it's really good to have multiple cash conversion cycles. Like when you're in a market right now, the way it is, like I'm literally having my apartment friends, my development friends ask me, they're like, Ryan, what do you think about us getting on social media? And what they're really saying is, how can we freaking make some money today? Because these development deals and everything else are taking too long, and we got to figure out how to make money today. And I get it, right? Because I have other businesses where the cash conversion cycle is instantaneous, right? If you guys buy a ticket to WealthCon, which you should, okay? WealthCon's July 19th to the 21st. If you're trying to grow in your real estate business, we're going to have Brandon Turner. We're going to have so many amazing speakers there. Andy Elliott. It's going to be sick. You should get a ticket. But here's the thing, right? You go buy a ticket right now at wealthcon.org. That is an instantaneous cash conversion cycle. I get the money today. Credit card hits. So we don't really have that in real estate, right? Like, I guess if you have a rental, you get a monthly cash conversion cycle, but it's little money, right? We're talking big money cash conversion cycle. Somebody buys coaching, I get the money today. If somebody buys these other things we have, with Lead Kitchen, we have monthly retainers, and so every single month we get a conversion cycle. So my point with all this is real estate's weird because it's usually a very long cash conversion cycle other than wholesaling. And so I think everyone should have this wholesaling, tool in their belt, because even if you flip, even if you buy and hold, even if you do apartments and funds and all that, man, it's just nice to know that you have something where you're just always getting deals and it's bringing in money month over month. Like I'm just telling you from experience as a guy who does all of them, that it's nice to have multiple cash conversion cycles, especially as you expand. And look, if you're doing a lot of deals, what apartment guys would say or what even flippers would say is like, yeah, well, we have deals closing every month because like if you got 30 flips going on, then yeah, a couple are bound to close this month. If you got, 10 different development projects, like the goal would be like, yeah, maybe we'll sell 1 or 2 of them every year. And so that's our conversion cycle. But, it takes time to build up to that. And I'm just a guy who likes having lots of different ways to make money, especially if it's in the same thing. So that's just a lesson that I think is good. It's bailed, by the way, it's bailed me out of a lot of problems, right? Because of wholesaling, when I've had flips that have gone sideways or have taken too long to sell, I've been able to have wholesaling keep me afloat during those tougher times.
Wealth Builders, you might have recently heard that we launched Wealthy University, which has access to all of our courses. You get weekly calls with me and our team. You also get access to special trainings, many of which have been done by people who are on this podcast, as well as recordings of WealthCon and other workshops and events that we've done. But even though that was good, I actually want to make it risk-free for you to try for yourself. I'm giving all of the podcast listeners a 14-day free trial by simply going to wealthyuniversity.com/podcast. So if you go check out that link, you'll be able to get access to your 14-day free trial right now. You'll be able to go check out the course. You'll be able to go check out calls, trainings, and everything else, and then see if it's a fit for you. There's literally no risk to doing it. So go to wealthyuniversity.com/podcast and go get your free 14-day trial of Wealthy University today.
Let's talk about number 8. Local is almost always best. I firmly believe this. There's been a lot of talk over virtual markets, virtual wholesaling, virtual rentals. Like what? They'll be like, Ryan, I live in California. Should I buy, in another market that's less expensive? And I'm like, okay, but why? Why do you want to go somewhere less expensive? And there's not really a good reason. It's just literally, they're like, California's too expensive. And I'm like, well, that's not a good enough reason, right? Because like, if all things were created equal, and yeah, it's more expensive, but let's say like the rental percentage was the exact same in California as it was 1,000 miles away. And then we know that California is probably going to appreciate better than, the Midwest and other things, right? I'd be like, well, dude, you have boots on the ground. You know that market. You can go visit the home and the property. Like, be local. And, it's just people kind of get this attitude of, I don't know, they just think the grass is always greener. That's essentially the attitude. People just get that in life, period. And I'll tell you, I have gotten that in life. Earlier in the year, okay, I just strictly said, I'm tired of paying crazy amounts of money and leads for properties in Vegas. Like, it's getting crazy. I'm going to go out of state and do nationwide marketing. And guess what? We did. And we were getting cheap leads. And we locked up a lot of deals. But then I realized that we don't freaking know these markets. Like, in Vegas, you get a property at 80% of ARV, which is the after repair value. Dude, somebody's going to buy it. But in some of these other places, they want 50% of ARV. They want literally 30% of ARV in some places. And you're like, what the heck is going on here? Like, you just want to make like $1 million on this house? Like, what are we doing here? But that's literally the market. And so we had a tough time understanding that because we just don't know those markets. They're virtual to us. So then we tried to narrow in our markets and go to higher tier 2 markets. And the same thing was still happening where it's like, yeah, we did deals and everything else, and we're still doing deals in virtual markets. But man, as an experienced guy with an experienced team with high quality leads, I can tell you with 1,000% certainty, it is harder. And it's harder for lots of reasons. One, you don't know the market. Two, even when we locked deals up and we had them assigned, we would have higher fallout on these deals because things would happen because we're not local, right? Like, buyers would try to screw us because we just don't know that area. We're not physically there. Sellers would, sign contracts and then like they for some reason they just aren't as trusting because all of a sudden like they've just never met us in person. And like I can understand that. Whereas in Vegas, we go on appointments every single time with our team and our sales team, and it's like we build a relationship, we build rapport. They see we are real people. We are going to get a better deal by going in person and locking it up and going belly to belly. We are also going to know exactly what the property's worth. We're going to know what we can sell it for because we have local expertise. And so I actually ended up switching all my marketing back to Vegas for our own marketing. Now, we still do out-of-state deals because we have a ton in our pipeline. People send us deals. So like we're still doing it, but the majority of my focus is locally. And I think that yours should be too. Like, I'm just here to tell you, after doing this for over a decade, local is easier by far. And there are very few reasons you shouldn't do local, okay? There are very few reasons anyone's ever told me where it's like, yeah, this is actually better than your local market. The only reason I would say is if you live in an ultra small town that just doesn't have a lot of action, all right? Then at that point, I'd say, okay, let's go to a bigger market, all right? But even if you go to that bigger market, let's pick one that you actually are familiar with and that you have boots on the ground with, somebody who can go on appointments, somebody who can see the properties. So, make it your local market. Become familiar with that one market. Don't spray and pray like I do and some others try to do, all right? So there's that. Number 9, this kind of ties into that, but litigation is going to happen. Lawsuits are going to happen in real estate. I mean, that's business in general, but litigation is going to happen. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been sued. I can't tell you how many sellers we have sued, how many properties we've had to record contracts on or lien or put a lis pendens. It freaking is like, it's just part of real estate. And we've been on the end of like having to sue sellers and do that way more than we've been sued. Okay. So, and then like even after you like buy a property or sell a property, crap happens. Like I remember we had a deal literally in litigation for 2 years after we bought it because somebody was living there and then, the seller sold it to us and then the person living there tried to claim they had a right to the property and all this crap and they had no legal right to it at all, right? They tried to say that, oh, the seller said, we had this agreement that he was going to sell it to me and blah, blah, blah. That's just never there. But guess what? For 2 years, I couldn't sell the property because we're in litigation and she's living there rent free. And I'm just sitting here paying the mortgage on it, losing a ton of money. This deal has lost me a lot of money. It's like freaking, that's litigation. Like, that's part of it. It is what it is. But then, the other side of the coin with litigation is that, we've done so many deals, we've locked up so many deals, and we've had, just sellers get cold feet. And it's like, unfortunately, you've got to hold your ground in most cases. I've been on the end of being like the nice guy so many times, and almost every single time you get burned. I remember early in my career, you would kind of hear a sob story like, oh no, like I don't want to sell the house anymore, man. And it's nothing against you guys and everything else. And we're like, all right, we'll let you out of the contract. It's all good. And then literally a week later, they sell it to somebody else because they got a couple $1,000s more. And it's just like, oh my gosh. So now it's like, dude, we signed a contract. That's what contracts are for, So if you don't want to sell it, it's all good. Can't force you to sell it, but we are going to put a lis pendens on it because we do have a right to buy it. And when you're ready to sell it, we'll be here. And that's I hate that that's part of the game, but I've just grown to accept that it is what it is, Sellers just, for some reason, man, I hate to say it, like, because a lot of times you just, like, make the bad things, like, stand out way more than they do. 90+% of them are fine, but then 10%, you got to deal with this crap, and it really, like, takes up all your headspace, and just, it's all the drama. The easiest deals, freaking, you never hear about them, and they're just great. You don't even think about them. And then the problems always take up all your headspace. And so, at the end of the day, litigation is going to be part of real estate. So the sooner you accept that, it is what it is, right? What do they say? There's a saying in real estate: buyers are liars and sellers are worse. Like, that's the saying. And you're like, what the heck? Like, buyers will lie to you all the time. Oh man, it's got this going on and that going on, and I can't pay that. And then it's just like, all right, we'll see you later. And they're like, oh, but buyers are liars. They're always going to try and negotiate and get a better price. And then when you say sellers are worse, it's because if buyers are lying and you're trying to wholesale it and they're trying to go around your back to a seller, and a seller's like, oh well, okay, you'll pay me more. You're actually buying this and blah blah blah. Especially if you're wholesaling, you just be prepared for litigation. That is part of the game. And it sucks, but hey, it's just part of running the business. I can't tell you how many deals we basically have had to record contracts on because, seller backs out, and then a month later, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, we're ready to do the deal. We got this buyer or whatever. And then, we have to figure out what we're going to do. Like, it happens all the time. So just be prepared for that. That's a big lesson that I wasn't aware of. No one told me when I got into real estate that you'd have to deal with that all the time at scale anyways. And then lastly, number 10, you got to learn how to solve problems. All right. Solving problems is really important with sellers and everyone else. Like, I just talked about a litigation problem, but when I talk about solving problems, a lot of it is with negotiating. If we're running leads for you, let's say Lead Kitchen is giving you leads, all right? And you get all these sellers who are like, yes, I want to sell my home. Majority of sellers are not dumb. They want market value, okay? And so bad real estate investors will say, this isn't a good lead and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, dude, go on the appointment and solve a problem. That's what you need to do, okay? And so what I mean by that is when you get there, don't go there with one option. Don't go there like only caring about what you want out of the deal. I want to get this property locked up for as little as possible. No, go there with the attitude that I am going to sell, or I'm going to solve this seller's problem. And if I do that, then yeah, I will make money if I can solve their problem, adequately to fit best their needs, not my own. And so, if I go on an appointment, I got lots of options in my pockets, man. I'm like, yo, we got the cash offer, we got the listing, we got the novation, the creative finance, we got all that at our disposal. Let me just listen to what the seller wants. And so if you're good, you go on appointments, you ask a lot of questions, the seller tells you what they want, and then from there it's like, okay, based on what you're telling, and this is where you have to like give up yourself and what is best for you. And you're like, honestly, the cash offer is not going to make sense for you. Like, this house is in great shape. You honestly don't need my cash offer, if I'm being transparent with you. You could just list this house and you're going to get way more than I would give you. And it sounds like timing is not an issue for what you're doing. You're not in any rush. Like, let's just list the property and get this thing sold and get you top dollar since you're not in a rush. And it's like, for me, a listing would be our worst case scenario. It's going to make us the least amount of money. But if that's what we believe is the best thing for them, we will tell them that. And, a lot of times, yeah, we end up listing it. Some other times, they'll be like, yeah, I get that, but like, I do really want a cash offer. And I would prefer to sell it quicker, even though I don't necessarily have to. And we'll tell them the cash offer at that point. It's like, yeah, this is the cash offer. And, I know it's a lot lower than probably what you're hoping for, but, I told you it was going to be low. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they're like, yeah, it is pretty low, but you know what? I mean, could you come up with just a little bit? And it's like, all right, like they're actually very flexible. So, how you go about trying to solve the problem in real estate gets the deal done. Even when you're under contract, there's still always more problems to solve before the deal actually closes. All my realtors and everything know, there's fire. The deal ain't closed until it's closed. There's always fires, right? The buyer wants you to fix something. The loan isn't going through. The buyer, they bought they financed a new car right before closing, and now their debt to income ratio is too high. Like, problems are always going to keep happening. And so we have to be problem solvers in the game of real estate. When we're locking up deals, when we're trying to sell deals to other people, when we're trying to get a flip done, making decisions about what to fix up, we are constantly solving problems. And so you want to be great in this business, become a problem solver. So anyways, hopefully this was valuable to you. Make sure you hit that notification bell if you like this kind of content. It helps more people see it. It helps more people get help that they need. And so go hit that notification bell and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.